I'm Lorraine Gilmore. This is my name sign. I would like to discuss about deaf education. And the reason for that is because I'm a teacher trainer. And for so long, many years, that people have been involved in deaf education. For example, myself, when I grew up in the deaf education system, I had a lot of teacher practice trainers who would read about deaf education, and they weren't really sure, but many topics involving deaf education, oof, up until about the past 100 years or so, things have not been successful for deaf people in the school system. They've failed, they've struggled, they've been criticized on their writing and they struggle, and their reading. In the future, they try to find jobs, and again, they are not successful. As a teacher trainer, what I've decided that I want to do is help change deaf education. But how do we go about that? For teacher training programs, in 1995, I moved here, and there was a lot of improvement we needed to do. But what exactly do we need to help make that change happen? A lot of topics around deaf education, but the focus that I really want to help is dissolve the problem and make improvements along the way. That's my major focus. So, observing what's best in my findings, I thought the answer would be to meet many deaf people. First, I'd ask them questions about their experience growing up in the deaf education system, any frustrations or struggles they experienced. And then it's best to ask why the outcome was what it was. When they graduated, it's best to ask again the same kind of things. What were the mistakes over the years? And what was the same for everyone? When I asked deaf people again and again, it's the same old story. And then up until now, it's just been the same old story. There's been not much new things happening with deaf education. So, again, the same old story. And a really hot topic is language. A second one would be communication. And I wanted to discuss more about language and communication. And I know it's a very famous hot topic for people to talk about language and communication, but it's important to never stop talking about it. So when people would talk to me, they had some complaints in the discussion. Deaf people who would enter school for the first time, sitting at the desk, and the teacher, it was very important that the teacher in the classroom was able to be visible, but the teacher was incompetent when it came to signing. And so why it was even worse because they would sign like that and everything would go past the students. And the teacher also, it's very important that they were connected, but they weren't. They were very immersed in hearing culture and hearing ways. And the experience and perspectives don't match up when it comes to deaf education. Emphasizing oralism and English, sure, English is important, but for deaf students, that's not how they learn. And you need to practice and practice and practice over and over again, trying so hard to learn and being patient. Is it fun and enjoyable? Do they love school? No. But when you ask deaf people, when you ask deaf people about their experience growing up, often it's negative. And bad experiences had happened to them, some frustrations and struggles. A few schools, like military schools, are pretty good and they support people in the situation, and they don't have discussions too frequently. But for deaf people who fail more often than not, like the 18th century up until today, it's very important to look back at the past and how we've made improvements, and we can be more sure that we don't make those mistakes again. Language and communication problems have a few things to them. So, discussing language problems, that's like that idea. And we have a responsibility as teacher trainers, meaning we have to improve and we have to get the classroom back in order. And what we do is we practice looking around different programs. And altogether, there's about 60 different schools and programs. And we want to encourage those programs to help teachers become better at their job and keep it the same all around for teacher equality. So we're not going to focus on oralism or anything, but we're going to sign, and we're not going to punish people for signing. Before it was not required, but the schools have learned a lot about children and their needs,